Welcome to the first episode of Capital Connect, a policy video series from Commerce Lexington. Through this series, we're excited to engage with policy leaders and explore issues that are critical to the Greater Lex business climate and to keep our members better informed. To kick off the series, we're excited to have Rob Burton, President of Kentucky American Water, with us. Rob has been in the role since January of 2025. Kentucky American Water is also one of our presenting sponsors of the Policy Partner Program. We're really appreciative of your support of Commerce Lexington and the policy efforts that we do. Rob, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Really excited to be here and glad I can have a chance to talk with you and share some very important things going on with our company and within the water industry, if you will. Really excited to be back here in Kentucky. My wife and I are both born and raised in Kentucky, but we haven't lived here for 27 years, so really glad to be back. Prior to coming to Kentucky American Water, I was president over at West Virginia American Water, and I've been working for American Water for about 16 years now, and I've been in the water industry for going on 34 actually this year. So really excited to be here and talk with you.
That's incredible, Rob. We appreciate you being here today. And before we kind of deep dive into some of the policy issues and what we're going to talk about further today, let's get a little bit of background on you. So before you were originally in Kentucky and in West Virginia, what got you into the water utility industry?
Yeah, so it's kind of an interesting story, and I tell folks it's kind of something unique about me. Is actually my wife got me my first job in the business. It was kind of funny. We were attending a church in Henderson, Kentucky, actually, and she was really good friends with a gentleman who was superintendent over the town's wastewater system, and through that relationship was able to get me on as a part-time job, actually working at a wastewater plant. And 34 years later, here I sit with you today. But I started out my career mainly in operations of water and wastewater facilities, moved over into management of them later on. And I've had the pleasure of being president of a couple of different states now, which is pretty dang cool. But it's nice to be back in the state. I tell folks it's kind of interesting. I left the state of Kentucky as a treatment plant operator and very aware of the importance of drinking water to folks and that daily job of doing that. But now I've come back to the state as truly an industry professional, which gives me that broad understanding of the needs of utilities across the state, the challenges that everyone's facing in the water sector, and the fact that it's critically important to have strong, healthy utilities that run for all the communities that we serve. And you can tell the difference in the state. There's a lot of amazing water and wastewater utilities in the state, very well run. And there's a lot that are struggling and having problems. And those communities then struggle and have problems for that. So having that acute awareness of how important it is to have strong, healthy utilities is really the biggest part of my background.
And water really is that critical component of economic development, whether it's for a business or for residents and workforce. It's often that it's kind of that low profile piece of infrastructure, but it is really, really important to what we do in the community.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is, you don't always see, the water infrastructure. You see a water tower in the air maybe, or a fire hydrant or something of that nature. But a lot of it is in places where you don't see it and you don't realize it's there. And the only thing that you really, pay attention to is when you go to the sink and you turn on the tap, you expect water to come out. And when you take a shower, you expect water to come out. And you expect, the wastewater from your home to go away. And as long as those things are occurring, then things are good. But when that doesn't happen, then you become much more concerned with, well, wait a minute, what's going on? What's going wrong? Or why is that not there?
So you've been in the job 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
Any reflections year one on the job, things that you didn't expect of coming back into this position? It is a unique system in that we have a Kentucky American Water as a private utility in a marketplace that's typically controlled by public utilities. So any reflections that first year being back in Kentucky?
Yeah, it's been great coming back. I mean, I love the company I work for. I've really enjoyed getting to know all the folks we have here at Kentucky American Water and the great work that they do. And really, investor-owned utilities, which, Kentucky American Water is part of the American Water family, largest investor-owned utility in the nation for the water industry. And it's kind of unique in the state of Kentucky. There's not really another company doing what we do the way that we do it. And a lot of folks don't always understand, what our company is and where we came from. And literally, we've been, here in the state for 140 years now, serving. Started off serving, the city of Lexington back in 1885, and now we serve, 14 counties. Going to be 16 here later this year with some acquisitions we're doing. And I think, for me, it's realizing, the needs of this state and how important it is to, again, to have strong utilities in the state, but again, that perspective from when I left and working in just one utility and now having a broader understanding of what's going on, I think it's that understanding that there's a lot of need here. There's a lot of need for infrastructure. There's a lot of need for, frankly, resiliency within the systems. If you look at the impact of storms recently and how that has really, been very tough on a lot of utilities, it's that, realizing that there is a need. There's policy needs. There's, money needs, let's be honest. And there's needs for professionalism and to be frank, consolidation and regionalization of systems.
So as the largest investor-owned water utility in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and serving over 500,000 people, water and wastewater services in that area. So how does that make it unique for American Water to maneuver compared to the other systems that you all work alongside with?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I mean, so our size, is a strength, and our size brings a lot of complexity. The reality is, as a company, it's really important that we do take the lead, both here in the state and as American Water being a leader in the industry. So that's from an investment standpoint. And our company does that across the board. So, if you talk about infrastructure, American Water, as a whole, in the next 5 years is going to invest around $20 billion in infrastructure. Here in the state of Kentucky, what does that mean? We're going to be investing almost $500 million here in the state of Kentucky in the next 5 years into infrastructure. So that's an ability that our company has to bring those resources to the state. I tell folks, it's important that we look at the needs of a state such as Kentucky as an all-the-above approach. And the ability to bring private equity and the access to the capital markets into the state as a private company is critical to the needs of the state, along with work that the state legislature is trying to do to inject funds into water and wastewater systems. The federal government doing the same thing through the USDA and EPA programs to put grant dollars into the state. And we are one of those solutions and need to be one of those solutions to really meet the needs that are out there.
Well, the American Society of Civil Engineers does their annual report card, and they talk about nationally the state of water infrastructure being a C grade, basically. And so when you think about Kentucky, or really this region, the 9-county region, how do you think we stack up? I mean, it's like a house. You're constantly reinvesting in maintenance to keep things going, and that's exciting to hear that those investments are coming. But how would you grade the region as it stands right now?
And that's a great question, and we get asked that. And to me, our report card comes every day. When there's drought conditions and our customers still have water at their faucet, when there's flooding on the Kentucky River, and and multiple utilities are struggling potentially with that, and our customers see no impact because we're able to keep producing water because of the resiliency of how we built our facilities, where we built them, and then the way they're connected together. When there's the need to take a full treatment plant offline for maintenance, we can do that without customers knowing that's happening because of the resiliency we built into the system. So to me, we get our report card on a daily basis when a customer has water at their tap, when a customer has access to the drinking water they need, when their bill is affordable. That to me is that daily report card that we're receiving as a company, whether or not we're delivering on that or not.
So we know that American Water, serves parts of the communities across the Commonwealth. Mm-hmm. So what would you say is the state of water in the greater Lexington area, our 9-county region that we operate in? Yeah,
so the state of the water here, is, from a water quality perspective, is excellent. Folks are delivered high quality drinking water on a daily basis. There's annual reporting that we do. Customers receive every year, our consumer confidence reports, which outline a host of regulations that the company has to meet and how we're doing against those. And you can tell from those reports that our company is meeting and in most cases exceeding those requirements. We take part in extensive programs within our industry There's an industry best participation model around Partnership for Safe Waters through the American Water Works Association. And our company has been a part of that since really the beginning of the program for over 20 years now. And that basically outlines steps that a utility in their treatment facilities takes that goes well above and beyond just meeting federal and state regulations, but being even better than that. And that's been a goal of ours and something that we've strove toward, like I say, for over 20 years now in our facilities. So I would say that, from a quality standpoint, it's very high. From an ability to serve what is needed, it's very high. For new developments, for expansion, you look across, this whole region, and there's tons of growth occurring. There's lots of expansion occurring. Look at what's happening with the UK campus and things of that nature. And literally every bit of that is not worried that there's going to be water service available because it's there, because we can deliver and we take care of what our customers need.
So on the water quality topic, I feel like there's a lot of national coverage and national press on PFAS and fluoride and some of those things. How would you respond to where we stand on some of those more hot button topics? How would you describe that in the region?
No, that's a great point. I mean, there's a lot of emphasis around the PFAS and forever chemicals. A big one now is the updates and changes within the lead and copper rule and the need for identifying lead service lines and removing those from systems. And there's a lot of interest around things like fluoride that you bring up there. So within our systems now, we don't currently have a immediate need around PFAS and PFOA chemicals, although those are things that can increase over time, of course. So we're making preparations now for potentially having to do enhanced or further treatment for that in the future. But as of right now, it's not an issue and direct concern to our customers based on our current testing and information we have. On the lead and copper requirements and the new requirements around lead service lines, we're actually actively communicating and we're trying to work with our customers to identify lead service lines in our systems, which actual ones that we're aware of. There's not very many, probably a few thousand, and we'll be working within the rule, within the guidelines and requirements over the next essentially 12 years now to replace all of those that were found in the system that we're aware of in the system. But right now we definitely are asking our customers to work with us, and we need your help in identifying those lines based on your own service lines and your own lines at your home or residence. And there's information on our website that you can get that points you to filling out surveys and having that information so that we can identify whether or not your line is one that needs to be replaced or taken care of or not. So we're asking folks to kind of partner with us on that. And there's a lot of commentary around the country and within the state as well about potential concerns with fluoride in drinking water. And I will say that our company meets all regulatory requirements around the fluoride that we put into the water. And we are absolutely in tune and listening to the communities that we serve as to whether or not that is something that they still want or would like to continue with. Ultimately, our company meets the needs of what our communities and our customers are wanting and expecting. And then we do that in a way that meets all requirements from both state and federal EPA.
Well, I know in our area, I live in Southland, there's been some work on our water lines, updating some of those. And to your point, there's specific needs for it. But how urgent overall is replacing the infrastructure, and why is it important beyond just replacing some lead pipes or meeting some other requirements? What can you expand on that a little bit more?
No, it's a great question. And the reality is, infrastructure needs to be replaced on a continuously ongoing basis. And that's one of the key things that for us around driving, initiatives and policy initiatives and changes, within the way things are done in the state to both encourage and incentivize that investment. Main breaks happen, they occur. Service leaks happen, they occur. But if we're doing a good job of replacing those on regular schedules, they're minimized and the impacts are minimized. And those impacts are not just the loss of service. The impacts are having to tear up a street in an emergency is much more difficult, especially for traffic patterns, than it is doing it as a planned way. And you can put things in place that are more appropriate and less of an emergency middle of the night type of situation. So doing that investment on the front end is important. And that's why it's important that there are, things in place that incentivize that work, such as, good policy around, infrastructure mechanisms that encourage investment and allow for timely recovery of that. And then also flatten out rates for our customers. We talk a lot about the importance of affordability in our company. And here, in Kentucky American Water, our rates are extremely affordable. very in the middle of the average for most of the areas of the state, and well below benchmarks. A key benchmark is trying to be under 1% of median household income for water utility rates, and our sets at less than 0.7%. So literally well beneath that metric and guideline. So maintaining that affordability is critically important.
Yeah, keeping that balance of making the critical investments in infrastructure and then maintaining those low cost rates. Do you see that being a challenge moving forward with the investments that you're planning to make, or is that something where state investments, federal grants can help maintain that line of affordability?
So it's a challenge every single day. And the reality is we are doing our part, to maintain that affordability. It's extremely important for us to control cost. And having, a company that has the broad reach that we do allows us to have economy of scales to keep daily operations and maintenance costs low. And if we do that, that allows us to do investment in a way that doesn't impact customer bill versus spending that on emergency repairs and things of that nature. But it's also important to have access to other, opportunities. Here in the state of Kentucky, as a private investor-owned utility, we don't have access to federal grants or access to state grants. But we do have the ability to partner with, municipalities, partner with, utility districts and so forth in ways that would allow them to receive, grant money, grant dollars and so forth for projects, and potentially partner with us as well. Through some unique ways of doing acquisitions with them that would allow them to continue to own part of their assets and still serve their customers, use public dollars to keep costs low, and then also bring in a professional such as us that can bring that economy of scale, that can bring access to. Across American Water, we have over 6,500 professionals across this country. And we can partner with them and bring access to those resources, access to those expertise, and really spread that cost out that way as well. So there's a lot of unique things that we can do, working with local municipalities, working with the state on different ways, and then again working, for, incentivizing, investment. The big thing is, the state of Kentucky is regionalization, and I know that's something we talk a lot about is the need for some of these small systems to regionalize. And that's irregardless of whether or not they're talking to us or not. That's just an economies of scale issue and something that needs to be done in the state.
So are you working, that brings us to the Frankfurt question and your legislative priorities. As a private utility, are there things that, from a policy perspective, you would like to see change to help with some of the infrastructure needs or help you partner with other communities to provide them with that type of support?
Yeah, absolutely. We've had a lot of conversation with a lot of legislators across the state, and there's a lot of interest and a lot of desire to have more regionalization occur. And then a lot of conversation on how we can be a part of that solution. I always tell folks it's important to look at the needs of the state and the needs of the water industry as an all-of-the-above approach. And the reality is it's going to take investment at the federal level. It's going to take investment at the state level. It's going to take incentives at the state level for regionalization, for encouraging investment. And that's also something where private, companies such as ours can bring to the table a part of that solution. And all the above solution means we work together, means we help each other, and means that we are striving toward the same thing. And that's through, some policy changes to, again, encourage investment and to allow for, evening out rates over a period of time through good infrastructure mechanisms. That means encouraging regionalization. And again, there's things that we can definitely do as a company. Look, and I tell folks, if you want to see an example of does regionalization work, we are it. Literally, the 14 counties we serve, the majority of them are essentially a regionalized utility. Here in the greater, Lexington area, the central Kentucky area, we have multiple treatment facilities that feed into systems that work off each other across all these counties. That is a regionalized system that delivers affordable rates, that delivers resilient infrastructure, that delivers water service on a daily basis that folks need. It's really the proof of regionalization works.
So I'd say the majority of our members at Commerce Lexington are probably your customers through Kentucky American Water. What are some specific state or federal changes that are coming up that may impact you all, and Is there anything that our business members need to do to plan for investments or planning ahead for their businesses and those changes?
Yeah, some of the biggest things, of course, occurring at the federal level involved, new regulations. Again, we talked about around PFAS and forever chemicals, new regulations around lead and copper, and there's always, the potential for new regulations from the EPA and the work that they do on an ongoing basis, which we partner with them extensively at the federal level as well as the state level. Big things that we're looking at from a policy standpoint, on the national level is, a big one that came about during COVID. It was called essentially, if you've ever heard of the LIHEAP program for electric utilities, there's a LIWAP program for water utilities that was started during the COVID era to try to help customers with affordability and to help them directly with their bills. But it was only funded as a temporary measure during that. And we're trying to get traction to make that an ongoing funding to help water utility customers, just like electric and gas customers get help through that federal program. Along with the regulations for PFAS, PFOA, us and many other industries are trying to do the same thing, which is to embed some liability protections for what we call passive receivers into the federal law, if you will, for those that didn't create these chemicals, and not being penalized for those, because and there's other companies besides ours in that same situation that may be penalized for that, and then that's a cost that ultimately goes on to consumers as well. And they were never the generators of those types of things. So that's two major things that we're working on at the federal level that we think are important policies across the country and for the state of Kentucky.
So when you're thinking locally, are you able to give us a heads up on where we may see those investment projects this year? What's coming up in 2026? Where you're going to be working, or where people can anticipate seeing Kentucky American Water making infrastructure upgrades?
Yeah, we put out information, through our, external affairs team onto our website, onto our social media, projects that are upcoming. We have a number of projects planned, throughout, Lexington and Fayette County, as well as all the counties that we're serving. We're doing some upgrades at each of our treatment facilities as part of ongoing infrastructure investment and making preparations to be able to meet, future regulations and current regulations as they come down the pike. So we're really, making investments throughout our systems to make them, stronger and more resilient. But you'll definitely see us out there working. You'll definitely get notices of upcoming work. There'll definitely be information, like I say, put on our website, put on all of our socials of work that's coming up. And literally, if, reach out to us. If you've got questions, or, you can definitely reach out, to us as a company. And we definitely, get a chance to talk with a lot of folks through Commerce Lexington and so forth. And if you have, specific needs or specific questions, reach out to us and our team, and we can work with you on what those specific needs are.
So everybody knows the legislative session's going on in Frankfurt, the long session now, and we talked about that in our prior video. But for Kentucky American Water, and we talked about some of the federal priorities that y'all have. What are some of the state priorities that you're looking at this legislative session? So
the main state priorities we're working on, and we're going to be working with the legislature, both now and over the coming year or years, is again on some sound, changes in the state law around, again, incentivizing, infrastructure investment through mechanisms that are worked through the PSC and the Public Service Commission that they control, on, creating better pathways and ways for counties through their water and wastewater utility districts to seek out solutions through an investor-owned utility such as ours, and bring, again, private equity and private capital into those counties to help, fund solutions and fix problems and help toward regionalization of those. So that's two primary things that we're working on with the state legislature, and trying to, educate folks and help them to understand how this helps the state of Kentucky, how this helps their constituents, and how it helps all customers across the state.
Okay, Rob, are you ready for our rapid fire question round?
Hit me
So
with
this can be personal or professional, however you want to take these. So what's this year, 2026? What's the thing you're most excited about? What's maybe a challenge that you're working through? It's what we call the rose and thorn. So what is your rose and thorn so far for 2026?
Yeah, so the two greatest things happening this year, on the positive side, is I'm a new grandfather for the first time.
Congratulations.
I have two little grandbabies that were born over the holidays. Really excited about that. And from a company perspective, really excited about some of the things we're doing from a growth perspective. Like I said, we're expanding into more counties this year. through a couple of acquisitions. We're really excited to add those on. I think from a challenge standpoint, to be honest, in our sector, a lot of the challenges carry forward year over year. I think that some of the biggest challenges we're facing is faced by a lot of utilities is really on the workforce side. A lot of our workforce is aging. Not as many folks are going into the water or wastewater sector as a career. So finding ways to encourage that. We and others work with various universities and some of the community college systems to get more folks and more programs that have to do with the water and wastewater sector.
So from a CEO perspective, I mean, our audience is typically the business members of Commerce Lexington. What's the best leadership advice you've received, or that leadership motto that you run the company by that you can share?
Yeah, so a few of them actually. One is, the biggest one to me is it's all about the relationships. You've got to build relationships in your company, in your community, and it's critical to do that. And these aren't my quotes. Never be afraid to do it scared. Sometimes we have to take chances, and as business leaders, it's important that we, are conservative when we need to be and take chances when we need to. And a big one that I work with my team on, and it has to do with that relationship piece, is don't make decisions in a vacuum. Again, we are a company with over 6,000 professionals. Bring those professionals to bear. If you look at our community, there's hundreds of thousands of people in this community. And if we pull together to get something done, we can do some amazing things. If we're just trying to do it as individuals, not going to be near as effective.
You're right. We're better together. And that is the motto of what we live by at Commerce Lexington and through our regional efforts. Okay, so the final rapid fire question I'll ask you is, from a business leader perspective, what we're trying to do is to encourage business leaders to have a voice in the policy process, and why that's important for them to have a seat at the table and to engage with policymakers, whether it's locally, at the state level, at the federal level. Mm-hmm. What's your best advice? What would you say to encourage business leaders to get engaged in the policy process?
Yeah, that's a great question. Get educated, get involved, engage with your local chamber of commerce. Here in Lexington, that's Commerce Lexington. It's not meant to be just a plug because we're having this conversation. The reality is that's how you make a difference. Is you get involved, you partner with the other thousands of organizations that are a part of that network, and you build the relationships, and you take part, and you ask questions, and you challenge, and you provide solutions, and you work together. That's what you do.
Well, Rob, Andi, and I really appreciate you coming on today, and we've enjoyed working with you the past year and look forward to working with you in the years to come. We want to thank Kentucky American Water for joining us on this inaugural videoing of our first podcast of Capital Connect, and we look forward to doing this some more. And we just want to say from Commerce Lexington, as Andi was saying a minute ago, we do this better together. So we appreciate your time today, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.